Hi everyone, I'm Shanice. My opponent argued that Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin will lose the recall election. In fact, the governor will claim victory in the upcoming recall election. Now here is a preview of the contents of my speech. My first counterclaim is that Governor Scott Walker still has a high approval rating from the Republican Party and the people of Wisconsin. My second claim is that the budget repair bill actually serves many significant purposes. Now, in case you guys wonder what the GOP stands for, it's an abbreviation for the Grand Old Party, and it stands for the Republican Party. Number one, despite the negative responses that the governor received from the labor unions as a result to his budget repair bill, he still has a substantial amount of votes from both the Republican Party and the people of Wisconsin. According to the recent report posted by Chris Lisa, 71% of GOP primary voters approve strongly of Walker, while 11% say that they somewhat approve of him. Clearly, he still has a high approval rating from many GOP primary voters, which gives him an advantage against the other opponents in the recall election. Now, my opponent presented his claim that Scott Walker has lost the voting base of many labor unions that got him elected in the first place. On the other hand, he can win without the union support because based on the Marquette University Law School's poll, 51% of 701 registered voters approved of Walker's performance, while 46 disproved, which once again gives him a comparative advantage to the other candidates in the recall election. Number two, my opponent might have overlooked the significance of the budget repair bill and made a transfer fallacy of division in his argument. What is true of the whole is not necessarily the truth of its parts, which applies to this case. It is true that a federal judge rules that the budget repair bill as unconstitutional, but the reason Walker created this bill is to steer their state away from the $3.6 billion deficit that their state is currently in, not to purposely damage the public employees' benefits. According to the Governor Scott himself, the budget repair bill will balance the budget and lay the foundation for a long-term sustainable budget through measures without raising taxes. So the purpose of the bill is to save the taxpayers' money. Yet many labor unions decide to protest against the bill due to the fact that the bill conflicts with their personal interests. And the only interest that the labor union has is their own benefits, such as health insurance, collective bargaining, and retirement. Based on the major deficit crisis that the Wisconsin state is currently in, is it more important to save the Wisconsin state from a $3.6 billion deficit, or to save the individuals who lose only a partial of their work benefits? That is something that people should really consider before jumping into a quick conclusion that the bill has a negative impact on the Wisconsin state. Considering the fact that the bill has high approval rating from many Republican parties and Wisconsin voters, and that the governor's approved proposal that the budget repair bill has served many purposes, the Governor Scott Walker will win the upcoming recall election. Thank you.
All right, most of your argument seems to be a little independent of the advocate's claims. You've got some good counterclaims here on the support that the governor in Wisconsin has in his own party. I think you need a little bit more data about how what his support is like in the other party or among independent voters in order to show that he's likely to be successful in this situation. At one point toward the end, you say that there was widespread support for the bill, and I think that you needed some data on that to support that particular position. The explanation that the labor union's opposition is largely focused on the consequences to them, if you could show, for instance, the majority of people in Wisconsin either don't belong to labor unions or don't support the labor union's needs over the needs of the state, that would be a lot more convincing. The judge's ruling, I think you largely diminished that argument by suggesting that the focus is on whether or not this is going to benefit the state, which is, I'm not sure, connected to the advocate's claim. The advocate seemed to be suggesting that people would be looking at this ruling and say, well, if the courts aren't upholding the governor, he can't be doing a very good job. I'm not sure either of those inferences is a valid one when it comes to the political realm of events here. We'll see how that goes. I assume, for instance, if the Supreme Court rules on Obamacare in June that it's unconstitutional, does that mean that there would suddenly be a huge drop in support for Obama because the law that he supported was overturned by the court? I don't know that that's an inference that anybody would be making, and I think that that's the kind of challenge that you want to make on that particular point. Let me see. Oh, there was... like I said, I thought you brought up some reasonable issues. What I don't think that you did was kind of come to grip with the arguments that the advocate presented quite as much, how essential the labor unions were to the governor's election in the first place, or whether or not they're going to be changing their position substantially in the upcoming recall election. All right, thank you.